it was raining, but then it stopped, so hopefully it doesn't start pouring again. But last night, holy, it was raining a ton. And I guess it shows in the news around here. Apparently there's certain parts of the province where there's flood warnings here now too. Oh my. I guess with everything happening in the east, no one's taking any chances here though, because I see like a lot of warnings and even like mayors and stuff making YouTube videos and all that just to warn people. Well, better prepared than sorry, I guess. I was checking the status of my DJI Mavic Pro battery shipment for the UPS and holy cow, looks like it's going pretty fast. It's already in the US apparently. Well, the sooner the better. Or at the same time, hopefully they get it right this time in terms of getting me the battery that actually fits and all that. Man, there seems to be a lot of car crash news today too for some odd reason. But I'll get into that later because it kind of relates to the thing I read today, which was kind of okay. It makes me wonder. Basically, we've been talking about this floods and all that, and apparently the Garneau actually talked about it. Now, as many of you may know, flooding, I guess, is the big story right now in Canada, like especially with people in the east. And to my knowledge, the problem is getting a little worse in many ways. A lot of people were complaining things like the army didn't get there fast enough, they're saying, for example. So a lot of people like are just out of luck. So there's a lot of tension, obviously. So this article today said a large-scale disaster warns of long flood recovery ahead. So I assume like, okay, you know, regular news, just talking more about the floods and all that and how people, I guess, in a sense, can help the situation. But holy cow, I then saw this like as you scroll like a little lower, it shows Marc Garneau talking about drones and this big headline, drones dangerous to aircraft. I'm just thinking here, man, are you guys just trying to milk every opportunity there is to try to make the public afraid of drones? But well, here's the video first. I mean, you guys can see it yourself and I'll talk a bit about it later.
I would encourage people not to be flying their drones around here or any other areas where there is flooding. Out of, you know, they may want to just sort of do it out of curiosity, but there are helicopters. There's a Transport Canada plane that does surveillance of flooded areas. It flies fairly low. This is not a time for people to put their drones out there unless they have authorization and a special flight operation certificate.
Okay, so what I gather from this, he's basically trying to explain to the public, don't use your drones because it could collide into a helicopter. There's all these emergency planes and so forth, so, you know, don't fly them around because it could create an accident. Like, and generally speaking, okay, that's fine, it's understandable. But as you guys all know, basically even around the world, most of the people are getting information and news from the recreational drone footages. And as expected, there's no recognition or anything like that to show the benefit of it. Basically, again, the narrative is dangerous. It could crash into a helicopter and all that. Again, that could be true, okay? I mean, I'm not here to debate about that because, I mean, I'm not an expert in mechanics. I mean, I hear some people from one side of the argument saying, what? A helicopter? Yeah, even like a little toy can take down a helicopter, whereas other people are saying, heck no, that thing drone runs into it, that helicopter's probably gonna smash the drone. Like, you guys can argue about that scientifically all you want. But for me, what boggles my mind is, there's again, it's kind of like what I talked about the other day. There's a crisis here, there's a flood, people are using drones to help in a positive way, and here you are spending all this time to demonize the tech? Well, where's the priority here? I mean, if anything, you should be thanking people to say, okay, thank you for like taking the footage and so forth. I know we're slow, like Transport Canada or whatever, to get to the situation to get the footage, but you know, we'll take it from here. But no, it's like, no, these things are dangerous, keep them away. If you think about it, what harm has the drone done so far in this situation? I can't think of any. To my knowledge so far, it's only benefited people. I mean, even news media organizations are using these drone footages to alert the public, to show them what it's like. Show me where the drone has crashed to make this newsworthy, if that makes sense. It kind of made me think too because to my knowledge, just from reading some other articles, one of the issues with the flooding is apparently there's not enough federal aid or something like that to help people in certain areas. Like, I would imagine that's more related to stuff like this in terms of danger and safety to people. So with that said, why would you use this opportunity to spend so much time trying to, again, demonizing drones to justify your dumb drone laws in many ways? I mean, no offense, but if this is the case too, like for example, people don't have the right federal aid for help, I would assume you want the regular citizen to come in and help you, because you're not going to be flying your airplanes or whatever over there to monitor the situation, correct? So don't you want the recreational drone flyer to help you? I mean, one thing that was kind of weird to me with this article again, because he is the transport minister, this guy. So I would assume like for interviews, there will be a lot more questions, I guess, posted about the situation. But I was also wondering like, okay, why are you only posting videos like of him specifically in this case, talking about drones and the dangers of it, if that makes sense? That just seems a little weird to me. So just for fun, like just with this article, I just quickly did like kind of like a word count of this article to see how much of this article was dedicated to saying how dangerous drones are, for example, and how much of it was actually talking about the actual issue at hand, like the floods and all that. So for this, what I did was I quickly copy and pasted the words in the article into a word counter, and this is what came up. Basically, the whole article in general with all the text is about 590 words. 244 words were dedicated to how dangerous drones are, and 346 words were dedicated to basically the situation, like the floods. So 41% of their conversation here was how dangerous drones are with the flooding, and 59% of it was the actual flooding itself. I mean, that's something to think about. You're spending 41% of your time trying to demonize drones in a situation where there's a crisis with floods. And not only that, to my knowledge, it's only been positive so far. The media's been using it, the whole public's been using it as a way to keep in tune with what's going on. It made me think too, in terms of safety, what's more dangerous? The drone? Or people like this trying to spew out basically fear-mongering stuff about drones when there's more important issues to deal with? Not only that, the drones actually help the situation to my knowledge, so what's more dangerous here? The propaganda or the drone? And as well, in terms of investing so much time trying to bad talk drones, in my opinion, just because Transport Canada or Garneau or whatever, you just don't want to admit that maybe you went a little overboard, it's hasty in terms of those laws you made. I mean, you even divide the country for the most part, like when I'm reading this. I mean, look at the comments here, even on the site. I mean, there's some people saying, for example, here, like, hey, could a drone actually really damage, like, you know, a helicopter? One thing you have this guy here, basically, like, I assume this is what most regular people have, like, their perceptions of drones. It says here, how about flying these toys close to airports, which can endanger hundreds of lives when the toy is responsible? Again, all you're doing is basically creating more fear with people when realistically you don't have really anything to fear about. Is anybody else surprised with a response like this? Like in many ways I'm thinking they're just doing this on purpose, honestly. Like for Garneau and all that, just to bring up that hysteria, because in my opinion they just can't admit, like they're basically completely out of touch. They don't know how to manage this, so all they can do is just fearmonger people to justify those dumb laws again. I mean, to me it's mind-boggling in many ways. I mean, instead of going after people who, in my opinion, who's only helped people so far and trying to get others to go after them, why don't you focus on the real issues? I mean, even like here, for example, I mean, today, look at this, 4 dead and 7 vehicle crash on Highway 401. This is a Transport Canada issue, isn't it? Cars and so forth, so shouldn't you be more focused up on this as opposed to people using drones and are actually helping the situation? Or don't you think it's better to actually work with people? Because obviously, based on the news I read anyways, you're low on resources and funding. Don't you want regular people to come up and help? Man, I'm inclined to say at this point, I mean, if Garneau really has this kind of phobia where he's having nightmares about drones, I mean, don't take it out on the Canadian public. I mean, don't make laws to justify your own phobias. I often heard people say do something that scares you every day as a way to, I guess, motivate you in life. Maybe Garneau is just artificially trying to scare himself about drones to keep himself going every day or something like that. On another note too, just in relation to all this, I mean, when I read comments like this about people saying it's a teenager toy and everything like that, I mean, I'm assuming for the most part these are the people who have never used the technology. And since that always comes up, like, okay, a drone flyer must be using like a kid's toy, there must be a kid. It makes me think this isn't even so much about drones, it's people being closed-minded. And I just hope, like, for these people, you'll realize, like, don't prejudge things that you don't understand. And since you mentioned teenagers and so forth, it made me think of kids. I mean, here's some videos, I mean, just for fun, just for people to hopefully open up your mind. I remember one video, it's kind of old, it's fiction to my knowledge. It's about a teacher that was taking joy in essentially like grading this kid really bad and all that until she opened up her mind and tried to actually research into the issue. So I'll link that below. And there's another one about people doing traditional interviews and resumes. Basically very traditional minded corporate people, basically prejudging people on their resumes. And they were shocked to find out the results, so I'll post that too. I mean, I encourage people who are that close-minded in many ways to watch stuff like this, because in the end, I mean, it's not even so much about drones. It's just people's inability to try to recognize maybe there's stuff that they need to learn before they prejudge others. Because that's how I grew up anyways. As I grew up in a diverse environment. I learned never to judge people for basically out of fear. I basically try to judge it based on context. Learn to understand how people live, understand why they do it, and then come up with solutions. So yeah, I encourage everyone to watch stuff like that. All right, see you guys later.